Hello, this is Null Inquisitor. This is my video recap of All for One Régime Diabolique, um, game number 3, which I chose to title Crows of the Wendigo, since Francois didn't provide a title. I find it's quite fitting. So I'm going to give you my first impression of the game, thoughts thoughts as me as a player, um, a little recap of the story itself. So this video might get long since I don't talk fast, and when I do, I stumble. So bear with me. Um, and just general thoughts about the game and uh, reflection about me as a player, and also the great fun we had as a group, and the campaign and how it's going. So let's dive in. So my first impression of the game was I kind of felt like in a French movie. In America, there's a style of editing action. Lots of cuts are used, lots of insert. If I grab keys on a table, I'll have a cut with an insert uh, showing us the hand taking the keys with a sound to make that little snippet moment, very clear. Then I'll go back to a wider shot and see the character go. In old French movie tradition, there would be a different kind of editing, I think. Um, and I'm talking cinema here, but you'll see it's related. Um, and in a typical French movie, especially swashbucklery movie, such as Le Bossu, Fanfan la Tulipe, other action movie, it's different. It's almost like Asian movies, where you would see the whole scene. You would see the character come to the table, take the keys, and go away. Even lessening or making the small moment of taking the key almost irrelevant accessory, and not like ching, like a moment, important moment. It would be like accessory, and the whole scene would be more important in its entirety. Less cut, and in French cinemas, these longer shot would also mean that the actors would have to physically do the stuff. So an actor would need to be real good at swashbuckling if there is no cut, almost like in Vincent Perez in Fanfan la Tulipe, who is doing all the swashbuckling himself, and there's cuts, but there's long shots where you can see him do his dialogue and fence. There's no stuntman inserted into some action, and then you cut back to the actor's face who go la ha ha. No, there's nothing like that. So in a sense, with almost the game felt like a French movie where everything was fast moving, blended together, even even scenes blended together. We went from moments to moments to moment, almost in a chaotic fashion, and it's kind of a feeling you get sometimes when you watch a French movie. You have a lot of long shots, and it's not edited like an American movie. And Francois did a great job to provide that sentiment or that French quality to the story. I felt the also that the game was over flooding with content. Uh, Lots of encounters, lots of NPCs, lot of stuff, and I'm picturing Francois in my head trying to prepare his game, prepping his notes, and I kind of imagine him like throwing everything he had to throw at the story. He's a he's a fan of swashbucklers and musketeers, and I kind of see him like realizing his dreams or his story, like throwing lots of stuff because he loved he loved that genre as well as all of us. So that's his way of maybe telling the story by introducing a lot of things. So it was overflooding with content, and of course, the game it's maybe one of the longest we had so far for that reason. And like in a French movie, the story was also multi-layered. One could say complex. There was a lot of stuff to check out. A lot of people with masks and hidden motivations, and we had to guess at every moment what's going on, trying to puzzle the reasons why, and the theft, and the chase, and everything together. Even having played the game, having this video just to as second thoughts, and I'm still not sure what the native young girl was in that story, or what was the crows, or what was the deal with the nun and the crows. She was controlling the crows, but it was very Native American. Was the sister doing the shamanic magic, or was it the young girl? I'm still not sure about what went down. Um, so we had to navigate in this complex web of stuff, and, and just find our way there. And my first impression was that, as usual, I had difficulties as a player, and I'll explain. I'll explain why at the end of the video. I know myself, and it's part of the whole deal. When I am a player, sometimes I struggle with basic stuff. I guess my brain is wired a certain way, and I have to fight it sometimes. So if I go back to the multi-layered story we had, it was not it was not a railroad. We were in a field, and things were constantly happening. We had the cardinal guards, the queen, some Swedish dignitaries with more of a background role, almost just a sentence in the whole thing, except that Jean-Marie did stole a Swedish carriage at some point. We had a Native American girl. We had what I call the battle nuns of Saint George, a secretive order of nuns that go back to the New World to do missionary work, I guess, and get into all the trouble to come back to France by weeks and weeks of traveling by ships. We had the Wendigo, crows. We had an appearance from the Cardinal de Richelieu. The group was split a couple of times, so we had multiple stories at once. And of course, Francois threw everything at us at all time. So there was no breathing space. There was no calm moments to contrast with the high action. It was almost always on high gear. So from Jean-Marie's point of view, the game went like this, and I'll go just on the surface because Anthony did a recap of the game. He did a far better job that I was about to do. So I'm going to go just on the surface. Jean-Marie patrolled the Louvre surroundings between the Great Meeting Ball thing. He noticed the crow. He tried to punch a cardinal guards in the face. He rushed upstairs to Queen Anne's apartment. He fought some crows. He saluted Her Majesty, realizing the theft and Philippe that went away. So he jumped off the window, almost broke his back, stole a carriage, drove the carriage until he found Philippe. They he tracked the nun somewhere near Pont Neuf, a famous location in our campaign. Even though it was the first time we went there, but I'm pretty sure we will see more of Pont Neuf in the future. Jean-Marie swam into the Seine, practically for nothing because the nun got out of herself out of the water. Jean-Marie brought the thief to the Musketeers barrack with Philippe. He helped interrogate the thief, a nun from the Order of St. George. I'll later call them the Battle Nun because they had staff and they were very martially adept. And I kind of figured out after the game that nun was also a shaman, or she learned magic probably from the New World, from Neuve France, New France. Then, as the mission went towards the convent of the nuns, Jean-Marie, because of his recent brush with a covenant of witches and his affected mind, I had to play that in the session. Maybe I played it too much, but Jean-Marie went to equip himself in his apartment. He equipped himself for war, musket, cuirass, everything he had. In his mind, the last fight with some Wendigo creature, Mother Superior, was a trap. It was wicked women again, so he was there to slay anything. He didn't care. He was in full monster hunter mode with almost no sympathy for life, no empathy, and he even put responsibility, having a nice moment with Martin. The only moment I felt in the game where we had a calmer moment, and we had almost to enforce it on the other players. Jean-Marie just asked Martin to make the call because he was off. He was acknowledging his blurry mind, his haze, his anger, and he was like, okay, you call the shots, and I'm not feeling so good, so you decide when it is time to go and kick some ass. And Martin went conservatively. I would say in the end, we fell into the trap. Jean-Marie would have shot fires just before, but nuns, normal people. So he was always on the verge, and I don't want I don't like to play murder's hobo who can just go from encounter to encounter and just kill shit. But Jean-Marie was not in his right mind since last episode. So he had a talk with Martin, a very touching moment, a moment of camaraderie and camaraderie, friendship, and that moment I was waiting for almost 2 weeks. Then Jean-Marie and his companion went to the convent of Saint George. They had some problem to enter. Then they fell into a trap, a stupid trap. The nun were like obeying this creature. So Jean-Marie, if you ask Jean-Marie at the end of the game, he would burn the whole thing down and jail all these sisters who were accomplice, and he would destroy the Order of Saint George. If you ask him, from what he have seen nuns conspiring with a Wendigo creature, using magic to summon crows, and ladies being improper ladies in society. So if you ask Jean-Marie, he would go nuts and hang all these women. Jean-Marie almost shut the gate at point blank at some point, looking at Martin for the just the call to press the trigger. He did use his musket later. He got stuck in some vine. He threw a silver knife, and the game ended. I'm not really sure how Jean-Marie is going to report all this to Monsieur de Tréville. He's going to be very insistent on the Order of Saint George being destroyed and being weak and a poor excuse for a monster hunter order or something like that. They should be just disbanded, and it's probably his report will probably go in that direction. So after the game, thoughts about the game itself. Two reminders that I got from the session. Reminder number one: the style point economy. Like the bennies in Savage World, like the hero points in Mutants and Mastermind, or action dice in Spycraft, or drama die in 7C. I was reminded that the frequency at which a GM award style points can have influence on the game. If you give more, if you give more and frequently, the players will have more luck on their side and will maybe try more risky maneuvers, or they will be encouraged to take more risk. And when the currency comes less, the games become more realistic and more lethal, more deadly, more serious, more dramatic. And it's not such a bad thing. I'd be willing myself to award less style point in a dire situation where I want to make the scene very dramatic. But I would still caution such a scene with the previous awards going in. Just because I do this all the time in superhero games, where you start the game, you have no resources, and you try to accumulate your resources until you fight the big bad at the end, and you go all in. I'd be willing to give less, but personally, I think all currencies are a good way for a GM to not do the Pavlovian dog thing, but show a player who did good, like physically you did good. I like what you did just there and now, and reward immediately a player. I enjoyed that little moment, and if you do it frequently it's not something game breaking. You just roll it into your description. Oh, nice action. Had yourself a style point, and the creature jump onto you, and blah blah blah. You can just roll it off the tongue as easily. But I was reminded that an economy, when you have a currency like style points, it's kind of, it has meanings, and it, and since All for One and Ubiquity Games use that economy, it it's something to have in mind when you play this game or any narrative game with a similar currency like Fate Core or. And reminder number 2, and I'll end the video after this, promise. Meta awareness. This is where I had difficulties as a player, as usual. It may come down to my style of roleplay. Maybe I'm a little bit too much method to as a role player. I like to keep my role tight, and I really make an effort to not acknowledge any description that is not directed at me. So when Francois, who likes to keep things moving, when he would describe something to Philippe, you see this, you see that, I was not even paying attention to that. And I should have. Francois' style is more, is less close to the character. It's more about the group. So when something is described, I should have understood that, and I should have opened up my perception or awareness of a scene and just step back a little from my role. That's the way I interpret it, at least. So, in a sense, in 2 particular occasions that I can remember, this was a hurdle to keep the action moving. When something was stolen from the queen, in my head, Jean-Marie was too busy fighting the crows to have noticed anything else than these stupid birds, and there were quite a lot of them. And Jean-Marie was slashing them, doing 0 damage, so he was kind of pissed and was trying to protect the queen. So he had no time to notice just one particular bird in the flock doing a little thing. He was focused on chasing them away. So I should have included the perception of something mentioned by Francois in my roleplay, and just accept a higher knowledge, a higher awareness of the environment than my character sheet and my style of play would have required of me to do or to consider. In the end of the game, I'll also remember the moment where Francois asked me, what kind of ammo are you using against the Wendigo? And the question, quite honestly, stunned me for a moment. I typically roleplay, again, my role very close and very tight, and it's very hard for me to metagame on command, or it was very Francois looking at me, nodding and almost winking, like, are you using you know what? And I was just in my role trying to comprehend the chaos around me. I was using regular ammo. I did not do any research on the Wendigo. Why would Jean-Marie would even... He's an average intelligence guy. Why would he have the insight of using a special type of ammo against a Wendigo? It's a waste of silver bullet, if you ask me, to shoot precious bullets against a creature, you have no idea if it will work or not. Usually, a musket will take down anything. You need a reason to load special ammo if you know in advance that a creature will. You see where I'm going? So I'm more of a simulationist mind, or call it what you will. But still, when Francois asked me the question, I was stunned for a moment. I was there. Are you flatly questioning or asking me to use a special ammo because it is the creature's weakness? And my first instinct is to not acknowledge that information and just play my role and shoot ordinary bullets and see where it goes. So I knew in that moment that I was stretching the scene for nothing. But I could not help myself and fall back to my instinct of just playing my character as I understand it in that moment with his limited perception of a scene, and again, not a meta awareness or a bigger or wider awareness from a scene. So again, my fault. My brain is wired a certain way. So maybe a question, a better question to me would have been, are you using silver bullets? And I would have probably been less stunned at the proposition. But doing it like we were trying to keep a secret, are you using anything special? This whole deal, my reflex is to say just no all the time. But if the GM is really, really clear about it, like, are you using a special holy bullets? I'd be more inclined to say, oh yes, of course, yes, cool. But it's one of those moments when you have a game master who's trying to keep the mystery of a scene or a monster capability, but suddenly needs to accelerate a scene or want to introduce an information about something when you should simply say it and say, oh, you should use holy bullet. This creature is really ugly and coming at you with everything you got. You feel no ordinary bullet will catch that or stop that. And sometimes, especially maybe with experienced player, we should just open the curtain and say, this is what's going on, and would you prefer that or that? So that was my recap of the session. Hope you enjoyed it. Francois did an excellent work with our current campaign. I feel really like the torch is being carried on each of us, and each with our different flavor and different way of doing the game. And I felt like it was part of the continuity of the setting, carrying on with another director in the director's chair, and the campaign is still going strong. So I'm really, I really can't wait to see where this is all going to go. So thanks for watching. See you next time.